Going over the NBA slate first for about, I guess, 35, 45 minutes. We're going to do kind of a game by game and also a slate breakdown from the top down, and then also do some lineup construction advice. Then we're going to do the same thing for the NHL. I don't know if I'm going to carry it through or I'm going to have to relaunch it, whatever. But shout out to Brandon Cruz, who is a freaking legend. I literally decided 15 minutes ago that I was going to go live at 2 p.m. And I posted just in the regular Discord channel. And when I went to log on, it was already set up by him within the live YouTube alerts and stuff like that. So he must have either been reading my mind or just really on top of stuff. So we welcome him aboard. And, look, first of all, can't wait for freaking NASCAR season. They already posted the February Daytona event in the lobby. I think he's already starting to put up some content about how to approach these things, and good, incredible reflexes getting this thing posted. First of all, hope everybody had a good weekend. For those of you that didn't catch it, I went to Toronto yesterday. Yesterday? Seems like yesterday. Saturday for the UFC event, and just went over Saturday, came back Sunday. DraftKings hooked me up with the tickets in their suite there, and that was really fun. Toronto, for those of you who've not been in the winter, it is effing cold. But it was very, people are always, as usual, very nice, cleanest city in the universe. Great sports bar right adjacent to the arena. Nice hotel. Everything went great. And came back yesterday and watched all my NFL lineups get crushed, pretty much. Hope everybody did better in the NFL than I did. As they say, couldn't have done worse. Well, who knows? Maybe you did. In any case, we're going to start with the NBA. And let's pull up my screen here. And here we have SaberSim, hockey, of course. But here's the NBA regular slate plan here. And at first, I want to just go over how it all maps out. So you have 3 7 o'clocks, a 7:30, an 8, an 8:30, and a 9, nice and smooth. No big island games or anything like that. Are there any late games that are part of a late slate? I have to continue to watch for that. Yeah, there is actually. So there's a 9 p.m. 2-game slate, which you could play. I mean, it's some good some good prizes, and as I just kind of alluded to, they are not including those, I believe, or are they? Let's see. Oh, I think they are. I think they are including them as well. 8:30. Yeah, well, they're including one of them. Wait, so they're including the Chicago-Phoenix game in the main slate, but in the late slate, it is going to be Chicago-Phoenix as well, along with Atlanta and Sacramento. So Chicago-Phoenix you get to use in both slates, where Atlanta-Sacramento is only in the late one. Okay, so now that we've figured that out, we are fortunate enough that we are doing this a little late because we actually have some news that we already updated projections for, which we're going to get to. So I guess we'll just start with game by game. So Sacramento at Philly, thematically, this is a big spread, and there are like 3 or 4 games with huge spreads. You have to figure out whether you want to deal with the blowout risk or not. And in this particular game, Embiid certainly rates as a very, very strong play. The only question is, are you going to get the full Embiid experience? So I would probably consider playing him anyway. You have the value to do it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. And even if he only plays 3 quarters, you probably get 60. So at least. So I think he's pretty strong. Everybody else on Philly, though, not really much of anything. Like, I don't think I would get to Tyrese Maxey. I don't think. What about San Antonio? I mean, Wembanyama, again, he's only playing 26, 27 minutes. It's just not enough. I mean, he certainly can get there sometimes, but it's just not enough. As far as value goes, I mean, nothing really. So like right off the bat, I mean, Embiid is very playable, and as you'll see, you can get to him pretty easily. Aside from that, this game is not particularly exciting. All right, Cleveland, Orlando. What this game has going for it is that it's at least a close spread. I'm going to pull up the implied points here. Now again, don't mind these lineups that you'll see. These are really old dummy lineups with like guys that are out now. So anyway, just to show the spreads here. You know, first of all, it's a close spread, but it's a brutal total. You know, 214 is just rough. So I'm not expecting people to project all that well. So let's just take a look at my sheets and see what it looks like. I mean, nothing. I mean, you look through there. Where's the first Orlando Cleveland guy you come up with here? I mean, Jared Allen all the way down here. I know that's just a very pedestrian way to look at it, but NBA is a very projection-based sport. So if you have to go all the way down here to find someone from this game, it's probably not the greatest game to stack. Let me see. Anybody? Cleveland, Orlando. All right. So if you want to pay up, Donovan Mitchell, I guess, is okay. So Donovan Mitchell for Cleveland, and I wish there was someone on the other side who projected well, but I mean, not really. So I guess I don't want to say nothing, but if anything, you play maybe Mitchell, maybe Jared Allen, but overall, not a very enticing game at all. All right, so moving on, we have Milwaukee and Detroit, and the problem here is that again, it's a 100-point spread, right? You have 129, 118. It's 11-point implied points. It's actually not that bad, you know. So if you do want to play Giannis, I think it's a little more likely that he gets his minutes than it is for Embiid to get his minutes. So that's interesting. When we sort by point per dollar, anybody show up here? Okay, so here we go. So you have Jaden Ivey is showing up as the 4th highest point per dollar play on the slate. And then you have Jalen Duran at 6,800. So, you know, you still have the same blowout risk on the Detroit side as you would on the Philly side. But these guys don't have to do as much. In other words, Jaden Ivey's projected for 28 minutes. If he doesn't get all of his run, maybe he gets 24, 25. It's not going to affect his fantasy points all that much. Oh, no, he was projected for 31 minutes. Sorry, I was looking at his ownership. So, yeah, he's got some blowout risk. It could, you know, cost him 4 or 5 minutes. Jalen Duran, same thing. Could cost him 4 or 5 minutes. But these are the best guys from Detroit, and they do rate pretty well. Milwaukee, let's look at the value part first. Again, really not much except for Giannis. And as for Giannis himself, I would, you know, default to that same analysis I just gave. I mean, I think it's a little more likely that he gets his full minutes than Embiid. So if you have these guys close, then you might want to play Giannis, but it's really not even close. I mean, Giannis is a full 5 points below him at the same ownership. So unless you really need him to get to other guys, I don't really see that big of an argument for playing him over Embiid. Now, again, I don't see for that big of an argument for you playing Embiid over Giannis either. So I think both these guys are very, very similar. Okay, moving on. Memphis, Toronto. Before I do that, let's remind ourselves of some of these plays so that. Well, hold on a minute. Okay, it's doubtful. I just want to make sure that it was in fact still out. So let's just put Ivy in so that we remember. Duran. We'll put in Giannis just so that we remember. Not that we forget to play him, but all right. Okay, Memphis, Toronto. I'll take a quick look at the injury report. Nothing out of the ordinary, I guess, except Xavier Tillman. He was out, but he might play today. So he did not. He played on the 18th, then he was out, and he might come back. Poto remains out. Excuse me. And for Toronto, I mean, nobody really is out, or questionable. So we can really kind of rely on the projections here. And you have Xavier Tillman is the third highest point per dollar play on the slate. So this is a good piece of value that you probably want to get to. And then you also have Luke Kennard, who rates to be pretty good. And then both these guys in Toronto, Quickly, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett. So this could actually be kind of a sneaky little stack here. Like you're obviously not going to probably be able to play like the studs, but if you wanted to play the guys I mentioned, such as Barrett and Barnes and who's it? Quickly? Who's the other one? Quickly. Who's the other Memphis? Tillman, right? Play Tillman. And you know, not that you have to play all these guys, but you could play, say, Luke Kennard. Let me see. I mean, I would have played worse plays, if I than this, So you could definitely stack Toronto, Memphis. Now you're not playing Jaren Jackson Jr. Okay, fair enough. But I think this is a pretty reasonable way to play, actually. All right, Charlotte, Minnesota. This is where the big value piece is coming from. Really, just before I started to run my last set of projections, they ruled out Mike Conley. So you're getting a very, very well-valued piece with Nickeil Alexander-Walker at 3,500. He's going to be, if things hold, the most popular player on the slate and the highest value on the slate. Those two usually go hand in hand. And he opens up all kinds of stuff for everybody else. So very, very strong play, to say the least. He's going to have his ball in this. He's going to have his balls in his hands. Very nice. He's going to have the ball in his hands very, very often. And not only that, but he's also small forward eligible, if that wasn't enough. So very good piece of value there. Anybody else, though? Now it's a 14-point spread. So again, there's blowout risk here. But I think Alexander Walker is, I don't say immune to it, but I mean, I think he's going to play. What else from Minnesota? You have, Gobert, Edwards, Anderson. Kyle Anderson is 3,700. I mean, that's pretty freaking cheap. So you have all this value here, but you don't know what kind of minutes they're all going to play. Now, on the other side, Charlotte-wise, you have LaMelo. Oh, he's upgraded to probable. Okay, so that's not bad. We don't have to worry too much about nonsense. So if you have Nick Richards, he's downgraded to doubtful. And there's no more Mark Williams. So we're going to probably be looking at, again, the same dudes as we did the other day. That'd be P.J. Washington. He could start at center. You might get some minutes out of Mensah, who is really not great as far as a fantasy producer. And as far as the starters go, like, Ball is fine. But again, he was out. What was he? Oh, no, he was second of a back-to-back. So he might play against Minnesota without any restrictions, aside from the fact that they just might get waxed. So, but I think it's reasonable. I think you could play LaMelo Ball here a little bit if you wanted. And if you played him, then you have more of a license to play guys like Gobert and Edwards. Those guys have a lot of blowout risk inherent in their projections. So got to be careful. But Gobert, Edwards with maybe, as I mentioned, LaMelo, I guess that's fine. I currently don't even have LaMelo as even projected, so we're going to have to fix that. No, I do, actually. She doesn't have a very good one. But I don't know. I would take a shot maybe at a low-owned LaMelo. It'll be the third time I tried it, probably with minimal to low success. But the real key piece is the Nickeil Alexander-Walker. He makes the rest of your lineups work, and for my money, he's a very, very difficult fade. All right, Boston, Dallas. Okay, it's a good game, right? You have Luka and Kyrie, I suppose. Kyrie playing? Let's see. Yeah, against all these Celtics. Luka is 11-2. He projects very similarly to Embiid and Giannis. He's owned a little bit less. Like, again, what I'm looking at here is you pull my sheets up, and I'm just kind of gauging this. So I can't imagine why if these ownerships we believed, why I wouldn't play Luka instead of these two guys. Same projection. I would actually say that it's a little more likely that he gets his minutes than the other two, and he's lower owned. So I like it. Boston, I mean, if you can get both these guys in, like you play Luka and Tatum, that's not bad. Who else from here? There's nobody like values or anything like that. So it's really just Luka and maybe Tatum on the other side, like just to see what that would look like. If you played Luka and then you played Tatum, that would leave you with, I mean, it would be difficult, right? I mean, even if you played Nickeil Alexander-Walker, that would then leave you with 5,100 a man. We haven't really come up with anything great that's less than 5,100. We have a lot of these 5,500, 5,600 guys or 6,500 guys, but it's going to be tough to play both these guys. But I do like Luka. Certainly nothing wrong with that. All right, moving on to the last game. From a game-by-game perspective, that would be Chicago-Phoenix. I don't remember seeing anybody that looked that great here, but let's just take a look. Nothing really, right? You just look through it. This is really the way I look at these things at 4 hours to post time. When it's an hour before, like everything changes and whatever, and I just run my stuff, but I don't really see anything. I see Vooch and DeRozan. Fair enough. All right, so fair, very good. So Vooch and DeRozan are decent mid-range plays, and then down to Kobe White, who's just kind of okay, and really nothing from Phoenix. Okay, so I really don't think it's a really good game to target. Probably not the greatest game to stack, but like I said, if you wanted to play DeRozan or Vooch, certainly nothing wrong with that. Hold on, Vooch. Or Kobe White, you could definitely do it. All right, so now let's get to the fun part. Let's try to build some lineups here using SaberSim and see what different techniques will provide. All right, let me just take a look at what he just said in the chat here. Anthony Edwards is now downgraded to questionable. Okay, yeah, that's pretty quick news because it's not even in the DraftKings list. Okay, so typically when you're a late downgrade to questionable, that's usually not a good sign. What this does is a couple of things. Number 1A, I guess, is that it makes LaMelo Ball like a better play. Okay, because without Edwards, the spread's got to come down a little bit, and it's just a little more likely that this game stays close enough where everybody gets their minutes. It also makes, I guess, other Minnesota guys good plays as well, such as even like somebody like Gobert, who you don't think is going to be, benefiting too much from it. Again, it's just because the game is close, and then Karl Anthony Towns at 7,700's got to show up as a better play because of that. And then who could start into a starting lineup here with both Conley and Edwards out? I mean, now you have Nickeil Alexander-Walker with. I mean, who else? Who else is starting here? If in fact Edwards is out, what are they going to put in? I guess they start Kyle Anderson, then Cat, Gobert, and I don't know. Like, who else are they going to start? McDaniels? Eey, goodness. So yeah, we'll see. Nacho. He might end up being a good play, and that game at the end of the day might be a juicy stack. But let's presume for now that he's not out, that it is what it is, and all this. So let's make a new build, and I'll show you again how to do this. Here are just the regular SaberSim projections. They're in here already. So let's upload ours with the updated ownership projections. Porzingis is out. All right. As a matter of fact, it's really funny. They were mentioning that during the game last night, that it was possible that they would hold him out. Is this new? Yep, just like 20 minutes ago. All right, so we're going to have to adjust for that. Boy, that's too bad. He was going back to Dallas. That could have been a fun game for him. But so we're going to have to look at Horford and Sam Hauser and Luke Cornett again. So those guys, in addition to the guys I talked about, are going to be much more in play, obviously. And we will update our projections a little bit later. As a matter of fact, let's give the Dallas guys not the Dallas guys, the Boston guys. Let's see if SaberSim updated these. It looks like they did. So we can't do this without, we have to do it individually. Otherwise, we increase everybody. So what we're going to do is we're going to change my custom stuff just for Boston to what SaberSim has. Now, there's a couple of things that are obviously just not going to be the case. Like Sam Hauser's not only going to be 3% owned, or 0.03% owned, which is a little ridiculous. I guess they just got this news, and so whatever. So all these guys are going to be a little more. So you want to bump all these guys up, and we'll just have some fun with this? Yeah, sure. Why not? Let's make let's move 12% to Tatum, just maybe 10% to Jaylen Brown, maybe 11%. We're just making this up to Derek White. Drew Holiday's not going to be 0% owned. He's going to be, let's give him 7. Horford's got to be a little higher. He's got to be 10 at least. Pritchard, 5. And we got to give like at least 10% to Hauser. I just don't want to get to like 100% of guys in my Sims, like for now. So I gotta do something here, and up the ownership. Aside from that, we're going to keep everything the same, and we're just going to run stuff. Let's see, build settings. We'll build 50, and we will use the 150 max settings as default, and we'll just fire it. Now I'm going to guess that we get 100%. Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That's going to be my guesstimate. And if I had to pick who my next highest owned guy would be, maybe another guy from Minnesota, maybe like or Memphis, maybe Xavier Tillman, maybe Kyle Anderson. Maybe you go to the studs, maybe Luka, Embiid, or Giannis. Except, how do you really, distinguish between those three? So I don't think any of those three are going to be particularly higher owned, I would imagine. So let's just take a look. Who else would I miss? Well, let's just see. Let's just take the filter off of just Boston. So 100% Nickeil Alexander-Walker, as I mentioned. And then a whole bunch of, Anderson and Tillman, other point per dollar plays I mentioned, like Ivy, Quickly, Embiid. I mentioned DeRozan, Kennard, Naz Reid. I kind of alluded to. Back to Patrick Williams. I always forget to play him. R.J. Barrett. These are like the top owned guys in my 50-person set. No reason, Nacho. Just screwing around with different ways of doing it. No real reason. I usually do the 20 max because remember, we're just building the first 5,000 lineups. You know what I mean? It's not the biggest deal. You know, we're going to do contest sims to tailor the lineups to what we're playing anyway. I just want to make sure that I get, you know, at least somewhere in that 5,000. It's going to have the 50 that I want. So usually I do 20 max just in case I wanted to play like a big buy and single entry. Just want to make sure that that's included. So that's why 20 max is what I usually do. It doesn't really matter too much. All right. So let's then, as I mentioned, run the contest sims. And again, these are the contests I'm running here. So the alley-oop, which, you know, for the uninitiated is kind of the big 555, 100,000 first. Then the fadeaway, 100,000 first, that's the lottery. Then the box out, which is an MME sort of lottery as well, but only 20K for first, the 88. And then the splash, 200. Trying to win all the money like me. Boy, oh boy, if it's the NBA, you're barking up the wrong tree, at least this season. Eric Sheets Haber has not won all the money in the NBA. Not even close. Anyway, so let's run the contest sims. And again, you know, we'll continue to refine process. And I'll tell you this: when I see in the Discord that people said, "Listen, I appreciate the help with process and how to build this stuff. I just won something or whatever," it makes me really, really happy. I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter to me whether it's $1 or $5 or a $10,000 tournament. That's not even remotely relevant, at least to me. Now, as you'll notice, and you'll see the difference when we do hockey, you know, the difference between what your lineups are going to look like when you just rank them by Saber score and when you actually run the contest sims is not going to be that big. Now, here's another thing I forgot to remind you guys. All right, so here we go. I'll do it in a second. So let's re-rate these by, let's do the lottery, the fadeaway, by risk-adjusted ROI. And you'll see it's not really that much different. You're still getting, you know, 100% Alexander Walker, a bunch of Tillman, et cetera, et cetera. So here are the things that you could tweak, okay? Here are the things that you could tweak after the fact. Number one is, depending on how many lineups you play and how you're feeling about it, you could click this min uniques number and increase it as much as you can while still being able to get 50 lineups from your pool. The rationale for that is just to diversify yourself a little bit more. And yeah, you're going to not be getting the 50 top lineups rated by Sim ROI, but you're spreading your risk out a little bit, and I think that's reasonable. So what you do is you keep on clicking down here until SaberSim yells at you. So like you see, it still is giving you 50. It's still giving you 50. It's still giving you 50. All right, finally, it's not going to give you 50. So what you could do is say, you know what, I'm just going to go back here, and I'll go with min uniques 5 because that's the restraints where I could still get 50 lineups for my 5,000. But I'm thinking that with the NBA, it's scary that if you did one more min unique, you wouldn't even get 50 out of the top 5,000 lineups. And NBA is very projectable, so I'm going to give it one more kind of like bump down, and we're going to make min uniques 4, right? This way we're getting like some, you know, we're not going to dip to the bottom of the barrel as far as our lineup. So I think this is a pretty reasonable attempt. So what we'll do is we'll save these to the fadeaway. All right. Boom. All right, now let's take a look now at what types of lineups would look good in the alley-oop. Risk-adjusted ROI. Still getting the same one here. It's fine. I'm not worried about that. And the thing is that at this point, I'm not making any changes. You know, like this is what I'm doing. But there's a couple of things that I want to suggest maybe. So let's put this in the alley-oop. Let's go to the box out. update these, risk-adjusted ROI. Get the box out. We'll go into the splash. And okay. And we're going to save these for now. I always think you should save them. Oh, somebody gave me some really good advice that I read the other day. Is that if you're reserving entries in contests, rather than run a dummy lineup with like just no chance to win players, just you can reserve whatever, you should do like a full like 8-man or whatever stack out of the last game on the board. This way, if for whatever reason you miss lock, you're not dead. You can readjust your lineups. You know what I mean? So I think that's actually pretty sharp. So this is what the lineups kind of would look like. I don't really care too much what they look like, but the other thing that you could do even post build here is, let's say we go back to like the fadeaway. Okay, we don't need to do kind of like ownership restrictions like geo mean filtering and stuff like that for the NBA. It's just not needed in big slates. But what you can do is just double check that your stack exposure is what you want. So like right here, I see that there are 4, 5, 10% of the lineups have 4 guys from one team, and 2 of them actually have 5. Now at this point, this is where you have to. You don't have to, but you can consider using some common sense. So if you say, I don't want 5 guys from one team, you can X them out. Now remember what you're doing though. You are kind of, you're fighting with SaberSim. You know what I mean? Because SaberSim is running these builds, and they are concluding that even though there are 5 guys from one team, that it's still a good GPP lineup. So I'm not saying whether you should fight with them or not, but I'm just saying that if you choose to do this, you are fighting with them. You're fighting with the algorithm, and I don't. That's up to you. I usually don't mess with the algorithm. If they give me 5, I will usually take the 5. So let's do that same thing for the box out as well. I know the others aren't going to be relevant because they don't really have those stacks. And that's something you could do post build. Now the other things you could do post build, obviously, are just X guys out you hate. Like if you sit here and you say, I'm not playing freaking Kyle Anderson, just X them out and it'll automatically redo all your lineups. Again, that's not for me, but every once in a while I'll do something like that. I think it's healthy to have an opinion. The only other thing I didn't do on this occasion was do kind of like a post-build team total adjustment to deal with late game advantages, just because it's so smooth here, and I don't really see too much news that could really break late that was going to make me really want to play that stuff. So this is probably the deal as far as the NBA goes. So let me just do this again. We'll update this. Now let's put these bad boys in. Now I did not do I do have a few minutes. You guys have any questions? Feel free, pile them in. But I didn't do FanDuel, but I will just I'll do a quick, at least, SaberSim run on FanDuel. I didn't even do projections for FanDuel yet. But just to see again, like if there's anything different. Let's see. So let's just run just straight the SaberSim projections to see. And again, we'll do the 150 again. We'll just see what the differences are. So I guess here's my question for Brandon. If I were going to do the hockey, should I log off and back on, or does it not matter? That is the question. think since I guess it's set up, I probably should end this stream and then start another one. I'm just guessing. But let's see what FanDuel looks like. What happened in the League of Legends? So it was G2 lost to Vitality. Wow, how about that? Big upset there. All right. Okay. So wow, in FanDuel, all the RJ Barrett, huh? Shows to go, yeah. Right. RJ Barrett, Kelly Oubre, Jaden McDaniels, Karl Anthony Towns. All right, so a little bit different with FanDuel. Something to keep an eye out. I wonder if they did anything with Minnesota with the questionableness of Anthony Edwards. Let's see. No, not really. So we'll see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this stream, and then at 2:45 I'm going to come back and just relaunch and do the hockey. Okay. Good luck, everybody. Oh, we will be live at 6, and